Right then, let's get into it because there's no use pretending anymore. The season for Rangers is done. Over, finished. There's nothing left to chase, no silverware on the horizon. No miracle turnaround. With Celtic away in the distance, 17 points clear, and the domestic cup's gone, there's no point dressing it up. But if there's one thing we know about this football club, it's that in the ashes of disappointment, there's always talk of what comes next. And what comes next for Rangers could change everything. We're not just talking about a summer refresh. We're talking about a full-blown rebuild, a new spine, a new era. And that's not just Piantheschi optimism from the fans. There's real movement, real momentum. From the boardroom to the boot room, there are winds of change sweeping through Ibrox. And with the American consortium, 49ers Enterprises closing in on a controlling stake in the club, we could be on the verge of the most significant transformation since the days of Walter and Dick. But let's start with something a wee bit more immediate, and that's the welcome return of Horacio Casanjo. After 162 long days out with injury, the young defender made his long-awaited comeback on Tuesday night, not with the first team, but with Rangers B in the Glasgow Cup final against Celtic. It wasn't quite the glamour stage of a packed Ibrox under the lights, but for Casanjo, it was the perfect platform to get his boots dirty again and remind everyone what he can bring to the table. And boy, did he take his chance. He lined up alongside Finley Curtis, another face from the senior squad in Stephen Smith starting 11, and from the off you could tell the boy had a point to prove. He didn't just ease his way in, he got stuck in. He made his tackles. He won his battles. And then on the half-hour mark, in a moment that shocked even the most faithful of fans, Casanjo popped up in the box, pounced on a loose ball, and slotted a composed finish past Celtic's keeper. That's right, the defender opened the scoring. Not bad for a lad making his first appearance in over 5 months. But of course, as these derby clashes so often go, Celtic weren't about to roll over. Just before halftime, Rhys Hagi leveled it up, finishing off a slick move started by Jude Bonar. That goal sent us into the break at 11, and that's where Casanjo's night ended. Subbed off at the interval, as planned, it was a controlled and successful return. Job done. Eyes now turn to how soon he can reintegrate into the first team setup. With defensive frailties still haunting Rangers late into the season, his availability might just be a timely boost. Not for this campaign perhaps, but certainly for what's coming. Now then, let's talk transfers. That's what gets people leaning forward in their seats, doesn't it? There's a buzz building around Ibrox, and it's centered on a certain Josh Mulligan. If the name rings a bell, it should. He's been making steady waves at Dundee and now finds himself at the center of growing interest with Rangers circling. Mulligan, just 22 years old, is out of contract this summer and currently free to negotiate a move. Word is he's also got suitors from England sniffing about, but sources close to Ibrox have confirmed the club are monitoring the situation closely. Very closely. This isn't just a rumor pulled from thin air either. Let's not forget Rangers have already secured Lyle Cameron from Dundee on a pre-contract, and there's a growing sense that Mulligan could follow him through the doors of Howie as the second summer signing. He's versatile, hard-working, and fits the profile the club are clearly shifting toward. Young Scottish-based talent with resale value and room to grow. No deal has been struck yet, but the wheels are turning. That being said, Dundee boss Tony Doherty hasn't given up hope of keeping him. Far from it. He's been vocal, insisting the club will do everything in their power to keep their best players, and he wasn't shy about naming names. Luke McCowan, Lyle Cameron, and Josh Mulligan. He praised their development this season and acknowledged the growing interest. But the subtext was clear. If Rangers want him, they'll need to move soon. And here's where things really start to bubble, because the incoming American ownership could be about to blow the doors off the transfer strategy entirely. The 49ers Enterprises Group, the same folks behind Leeds United, are on the brink of finalizing a deal to acquire 51% of Rangers. That's not small talk. That's a shift in the very fabric of how this club will be run. It's been brewing behind the scenes for months, but last week, Rangers officially confirmed what many already suspected. The takeover process is real, it's active, and it could be wrapped up within days. And look, whether you're thrilled by the idea or cautious about what it all means, you can't ignore the scale of it. For the first time in years, we're looking at major outside investment, and with that comes expectations. Big ones, because Let's be honest. The current regime has run its course. A trophyless campaign, a 17-point chasm between us and Celtic, players going out of contract with no return. There's been stagnation at all levels. The fans know it. The board knows it. The players know it. So the hope now rests on this takeover, not just pumping money in, but changing the culture, making Rangers ambitious again. But, and it's a big but, a former Scottish Premiership CEO has already sounded the alarm. In no uncertain terms, he warned that 49ers might not fully grasp what they're getting into. He said, and I quote, they had better quickly learn. Because this isn't just a football club they're buying. It's a religion. It's a way of life. It's a 24/7 pressure cooker, especially when your nearest rivals are across the city lifting trophies and singing in your face. He pointed to Patrick Stewart, not the actor but the Rangers CEO, as the man who will need to bridge the gap, to teach the Americans what it means to run Rangers. What it means to deal with the glare of Glasgow, with fan expectation, with the weight of history on your back. This isn't running a club like Leeds. This is something else entirely. And if the 49ers don't realize that soon they'll be chewed up and sped out quicker than you can say 9 in a row. But here's the thing. Despite all the warnings or the pressure or the chaos, this could work. It really could. The money, the infrastructure, the ambition. If they get it right, we could be standing at the start of something special. A proper rebuild. A team that doesn't just compete domestically, but makes its mark in Europe too. That's the dream, isn't it? And with players like Nicholas Raskin already in the ranks, it's not an impossible one. But here's the dilemma. Raskin, one of the few bright sparks this season, is entering the final 2 years of his deal. And we've seen this movie before. Ryan Kent, Alfredo Morelos, John Lundstrom, letting top players run down their contracts and walk for free. It can't happen again. Raskin's been voted Player of the Year by fans and teammates alike. At 24, a full Belgian international, a leader. He's exactly what this club should be building around, but he's got ambition. He's spoken about the English Premier League. And if a bid comes in this summer, the club will face a huge decision. Keep him, try to convince him to extend or cash in. Because make no mistake, he's worth big money. We're talking 10 million plus. But what's harder to measure is what he means to the fans, to the dressing room, to the future. With James Tavernier nearing the end of his journey, Raskin is the obvious choice to take the armband. He could become the face of the new Rangers, a captain, a legend, but only if he stays. And that's where we'll leave it for now. The season may be over, but the real drama is just beginning. The takeover, the transfers, the rebuild, it's all in motion. And if you thought things were intense on the pitch, just wait till you see what happens off it. So here we are then looking ahead into the foggy unknown, trying to piece together what Rangers might become in the coming months. Because if the first part of this story was about crumbling foundations, the second must be about laying new ones. And while we can dream of marquee signings and silver-plated statements of intent, the truth is any revolution worth its salt starts with decisions, cold, calculated, sometimes brutal ones, about who stays, who goes, and who carries the weight of this badge into a new era. Take James Tavernier, a legend no doubt. Over 450 appearances, countless goals a right back who played like a forward and often carried the team on his shoulders when others disappeared. But time, as it always does, is catching up. He'll be 33 soon, and with the murmurs of interest from Saudi Arabia growing louder, the club faces a crossroads. Sentiment can't guide decisions anymore. Not now. Not when Celtic are racing ahead and Europe remains a minefield. If a decent offer comes in, and by all accounts it just might, then maybe it's time to say thank you, Captain, and hand the torch to someone new. The same goes for other veterans, Connor Goldson, Borna Barisic, even John Lundstrom. All players who've had their moments but whose legs and influence are fading. If Rangers truly want to reset, they've got to clear the decks. Because you can't build a future with ghosts of the past still hanging about the training ground. There needs to be hunger, not history. Fire, not fatigue. Which brings us to the manager. Philippe Clement came in with big talk, and to be fair, he steadied the ship when it looked ready to sink. He brought discipline, structure, and a bit of belief back to the squad. But results are the only currency that matters here. A League Cup final, defeat no league challenge after February, and no Scottish Cup glory. It's not good enough. He knows it. The fans know it. And yet there's still a sense he might be the man to oversee the rebuild, to make the tough calls, and put his stamp on the side properly. But he'll need backing, real backing. Not just financially, but philosophically. Let him tear it up and start again, or don't bother pretending this club's ready to change. Because the last thing the fans want, the absolute last thing, is another window full of half measures, a couple of loan signings, a free agent here, a panic buy there. That era needs to end. Permanently. There's a spine to rebuild, a mentality to shift. And it won't be done with one or two clever purchases. It needs a dozen moves, maybe more. It needs structure, cohesion, a plan that stretches beyond next Saturday. But amid all this noise, all this talk of strategy and spending, it's easy to forget what really makes Rangers tick. The supporters, the people who pack Ibrox no matter the weather, who travel the length of the country to watch their team falter in Fife or shine in Seville. They've had to endure more than their fair share of false dawns. They've been sold dreams that turned into nightmares. But still they come, still they sing, still they hope. And hope right now is all that remains. Hope that the 49ers understand what they're buying. Hope that Clement is ruthless enough to build something stronger than what came before. Hope that Raskin stays, that the kids come good, that someone, anyone, finds a way to close the gap on Celtic and put Rangers back on their perch. Because it's not just about lifting a trophy. It's about identity, pride, purpose. It's about building a team that doesn't shrink in the big moments, that doesn't look lost in Europe or bullied at Hampden. It's about returning to the kind of football that terrifies opponents and fills supporters with belief. That's the challenge. That's the bar. And make no mistake, the margin for error is razor thin. The fans aren't waiting another decade. They want it now. They need it now. This summer isn't just another preseason. It's the start of something, or the end of everything. No in between. So when the first domino falls, maybe Raskin signing a new deal, maybe Mulligan arriving, maybe Tavernier leaving, it'll set the tone. The fuse will be lit. And from there, we'll see what this club is really made of. Because Rangers don't just need new players. They need new standards, new energy, a new fight. And if they get that part right, then maybe this long painful season will be remembered not for what was lost, but for what it forced us to become. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to get all the exclusive news about Rangers FC. Don't overlook any details about your beloved team. It's crucial for Rangers FC fans. James Tavernier has reportedly drawn a firm line in the sand at Ibrox, making it clear he no longer wants to share the pitch with Hagi. The Rangers skipper, usually known for his composed leadership and focus on unity within the squad, is said to have reached boiling point following a string of underwhelming performances, the last straw coming after the draw against Dundee. According to sources close to the dressing room, Tavernier didn't hold back his frustrations, criticizing what he saw as a lack of effort and commitment from the Romanian midfielder. Whispers of friction between the pair had been floating around for weeks, with training ground tensions and on-pitch disagreements becoming harder to ignore. Tavernier, a stalwart at the club and a player who's worn the armband through highs and lows, has always set a standard when it comes to work rate and accountability. But he's understood to have snapped after witnessing Hagi lose the ball in midfield and make no serious attempt to win it back. A moment that's said to have enraged the captain in the heat of the moment. For a club like Rangers, where every match carries the weight of expectation and the shadow of Celtic looms large, such slip-ups aren't taken lightly. Philippe Clement now finds himself having to calm the waters behind the scenes, with reports suggesting a private sit-down between manager, captain, and player has already taken place. While no official statement has been issued by the club, it's clear that things are far from rosy in the dressing room. Hagi, who's been trying to rediscover his form after a long injury layoff, now faces growing uncertainty about his role at Ibrox. Some fans have sided with Tavernier, praising his no-nonsense stance, while others have urged more patience and support for a player still finding his feet. Either way, the club finds itself dealing with off-field distractions at a time when focus should be firmly on securing silverware. With the Premiership running heating up and the margin for error shrinking by the week, Rangers can ill afford to let internal discord derail their title hopes. But unless fences are mended quickly, this rift could have lasting consequences, not just for Hagi, but for the team's unity as a whole. Greetings, fans. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, as it's greatly appreciated by Rangers FC. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments section below. Until the next video, stay tuned.